Hello viewers and welcome to Shujaa. I'm your host Linda Kroeger. Remember, this is where we celebrate our individual and community heroes, people who are doing extraordinary things to ensure that you and I are inspired and comfortable. Today I'm joined on set by Olang, who is the founder of Stories of Courage. Welcome to Shujaa, Marcus.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Karibu sana. It's a pleasure to have you with us here.
Thank you.
I think the first thing is to maybe introduce Stories of Courage to our audience. Like, what is Stories of Courage?
Stories of Courage is a platform where we are looking to tell everyday ordinary stories, regardless of where you're from, what rank you are, what status of life you are at, what point of life you are at. We look to tell everyday ordinary stories of how people are living life in a courageous way.
Oh yeah.
This is why we live in a world that tells us that we get the impression that we need to make it here now.
Yes.
Like it has to happen.
Yes.
If I wake up today and decide I want to host a show like Linda, by tomorrow it should happen. By the way, it has to. But that's not the reality of life.
Yeah.
There's a lot that has happened to you, for instance, for you to have gotten to this point. Stories that we perhaps have no idea about. And that's what Stories of Courage exists to do. We want to tell these stories. We want to tell these stories in a way that helps someone understand that one, things don't happen just like that. It often takes time, it often takes effort, it often takes a lot of failure, it often takes a lot of pain.
Oh yeah.
But at the end of the day, there is hope that it can happen. That's one. And then two, we tell these stories so that each one of us can understand that we are not alone. Because that's the other trick about the world in which we live. We are so connected. We are on our Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, we are on Snapchat, on WhatsApp. But at the end of the day, very few of us have actual human connections and actual people with whom we can resonate and look at and say, you're actually going through the same thing I'm going through now.
Oh yeah.
So if you've made it through, or if you're making the effort to make it through, I have a reason to hold on. Rarely do we hear those stories. That is why we tell those stories.
Amazing. And I'm sure you've been able to touch a lot of people. And maybe you can share with us, why Stories of Courage?
Well, it's because in part I have been a victim myself of the here and now and instant mentality.
Yeah.
Where I've been in a space where I have wanted something and I wanted it to happen now. A couple of years ago I was a host of a radio show, a breakfast show. And I had these dreams and ambitions. I mean, when you hear of a radio personality, you think of the lifestyle, you think clubs.
Oh yeah.
And you think cars, and you think big houses, and you think parties.
Yeah.
And I'm a guy. And you think women surrounding you. But none of this was happening. Not even the women. So at some point it got to me, and I went through a very difficult phase where I had to reconcile myself with the fact that a lot of what I wanted to happen now will not happen now. And even these people that I'm comparing myself to, because at that point I was comparing myself to the Shafi Werus, to the Maina Kagenis, who have had, to the Caroline Mutokos, who have had years in the industry. And here I am, 1-2 years into the industry. And I want it now. So I fell victim to it, and I had to go through a painful period where I had to reevaluate what exactly is achievable within what time frame and how. We are again living in a society where we are looking at things to happen now. Recently there's this often quoted study where 50% of the young guys in Kenya, such as myself, we don't care how it happens, just as long as it happens.
Yeah, you just want it.
Exactly. We don't care how you got your money. You have your money. Cheers. Good job. And that is leading us to ignore the fact that there is a process. And this process is vital for you and I as individuals to develop the character that we need to withstand what greatness is coming in the future. So that's where it comes from. It's, let's take the time. Let's build ourselves. Let's stand for what we believe in. Understand who you are as an individual for you to be able to withstand what is coming.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Amazing. And this experience,
Yes.
for you to go through this upheaval of wanting something so bad and realizing that you have to wait and work through it. Did you have somebody to share your story with?
No, actually. That is a very good question. No, because we are often infatuated with the success stories.
Oh yes.
We don't want to hear the real life stories. We are not too. The real life stories are not too sexy. The stories of going through the actual dirt and the mud and the upheavals. Who wants to read the story in a magazine? No. You have to have made it first.
Oh yeah.
For you to tell this story, for you to justify you're making it. But that's not the point. The point is, life happens to each and every one of us.
Yes,
if we're
it
not
does.
able to talk about life itself, then why are we alive? Why are we talking?
And one very dominant question is that this society that we're living in, especially for young people, it's very capitalistic. Man eat man, survival for the fittest.
At whatever cost.
How do we survive? I mean, how are young people supposed to get through it if this is the prescribed way? This is how you're supposed to go about it. How do you change and flip the script?
I think a key part of it is starting to truly study and understand the stories of even these people that we look up to as role models. The unfortunate thing is, for a lot of these stories that we hear the stories of them as individuals. Allow me to give an example of, let's talk of a TV personality. So here you are as Linda, you're hosting Shujaa. There's someone looking at you and thinking, I want to be like Linda. And they imagine that all it took for you was for you to come, organize some cups of tea and chairs and call Marcus and say, yo, let's have a conversation.
Oh yeah.
And we tend to ignore these stories that surround the actual success story.
That is true.
And I think we've gotten to a point where it's critical for us to understand that success is not a standalone thing. It actually takes a tribe. I use that word very carefully,
Yes.
considering the Kenyan context. By tribe, I mean a select group of individuals around you with whom you work, not that you share a common.
Yes.
And we need to get to that point where we understand that it takes some form of partnership, some form of teamwork for each one of our stories to be worth something. Amazing.
Let's talk about your first Stories of Courage event. Now, I understand they're both events and the online stories that we so frequently get. Tell us what it took to actually bring it all together, to have the first Stories of Courage, getting people to come and share their stories, and the feedback you got from your audience.
The first one was actually something of an evolution. I'd say, in a way, Stories of Courage was accidental. Wow, yeah, it was actually quite accidental. The very first edition was in October. The initial plan around it was to have a small event where there would be tea. We just have tea and a few mandazis and a few samosas, and there's people buying tickets for that, and it's a nice intimate experience, and then that money would go towards the support of a cancer trust.
Wow.
That was the idea.
Yes. What was the executable concept?
And then it just morphed into this entire
revolution is what I call it.
Yes, it actually
movement.
Is. Because then questions started arising. Okay, fine. We have our tea, We give this money to the Cancer Support Trust, and then what? Is that the end of the event? No, not really, because there needs to be another one. Okay, so if there's another one, what exactly are we saying at these events? So then we took a step back, and it became a thing, because the primary premise of why we were giving money to this cancer trust was so that the I don't call them victims, I don't call them patients, the fighters, the cancer fighters have a reason to hold on to hope and keep fighting, have the courage to keep moving. And that's now what started morphing and having a life of its own. The root of that was this cancer fighter needs something to make them stay courageous in their fight. But then each one of us also has a fight of our own. There's someone who is fighting to get a job. There's someone who is fighting to get married, or to stay in their marriage, or to leave their marriage. Each one of us has this story. So how do we give each one of these individuals a reason to hold on to courage? And that's how the first event came about. So the first event was now focused on people who are looking to, people who are chasing their dreams. We had actually all the guests are dear friends of mine. Mugambi Viga, who I consider a brother, who at some point quit his job, a well-paying job, to pursue a life that he has wanted for a long time, which is a life of acting and directing.
Amazing.
That was one of the stories. There was a story of Elani as well. These three very gifted individuals.
That's true.
2 lawyers, 1 actuarial scientist. How many actuarial scientists do you know? Very few.
Like 2?
1 for me. And this is her. And these are 3 very giftedly, very gifted individuals when it comes to their intellect. They have proven it. But then they have chosen deliberately to go after a life of music. And the other guest was a lady called Tabitha Taruru, who had been declared medically barren. And she basically told the doctors, sorry, I don't believe you guys.
Wow.
I have faith in my God, so I'm going to keep trying. Her 3rd child is now, I think, 8 months old.
Wow.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing.
So that's how the first one came about. And after the first one, we thought we have to keep this going.
Yes.
Even if it's changing just one life, that life is worth it.
It counts.
Let's just keep going.
Amazing, amazing sharing there. We're going to take a short break, Marcus. Ladies and gentlemen, keep it Shujaa on WTV Kenya. Hello viewers, welcome back to Shujaa for a Better Kenya. Today on set I'm joined by Marcus Olang, who is the founder of Stories of Courage. Welcome back to Shujaa.
Thank you very much.
Delving straight into our discussion, and I'd like to share a concern maybe with you. Yes. We have all these stories and the plans that you've made for more stories of courage to be shared. And how do we move from the sharing into actualization of whatever pieces of inspiration we've picked up here and there? What about mentorship? I mean, it's the in thing right now. Everybody's doing it. Do you have any plans of incorporating that into Stories of Courage?
There is a plan for that. The first step of everything, and which is what we are actually doing right now, is to remind people that there is reason to believe. Because that faith, that hope is something that is quickly dying out in the world in which we live. So the first step is to share these stories and show people that there is hope. But then beyond that, there is actually a plan to, over the next couple of years, start centers within 7 key African cities.
Amazing.
I call them gateway cities, because these are cities that I've identified that actually launch into the regions in which they are positioned. And the purpose of these centers, it's actually multiple. Primary among those purposes is, as you mentioned, mentorship.
Yeah.
And mentorship here is not, and I'd like to make this very clear. Mentorship here doesn't mean that you have to be a celebrity or a millionaire or someone whose name is widely recognized. Mentorship here means as long as you have a story to share with someone else, then you are a mentor. Because you have been through something that someone else could make use of. Share that with them. Share your mistakes with them so that they don't have to go through the same path that you've been through. My personal philosophy is a marker of success is if someone else who I've mentored is able to achieve their version of success in a shorter time than I have, then I have been successful as a mentor. We have this, I think, a skew in mentorship where we want our mentees to stay like, know your place. I'm still here, so you
maintain.
Just maintain. Yes, maintain.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is the right thing. I think if I'm able to raise someone who can supersede and go way beyond where I was able to reach, I have succeeded in what I'm doing. And that's my definition of mentorship. And that's what we are looking to do with the Stories of Courage centers across these different areas. The other thing is basically as an outreach/outlet center. Because you'll find a lot of people across Africa are going through depression, are going through addictions, are going through abuse, are going through very many different things. I'd like what I call our Jasiri centers to be spaces where people can reach out and know I will find someone, either who is like me or who is able to help me. That's where we're looking to go.
Amazing. I mean, I love that, and I hope you'll be able to reach out to a lot of people. And also in terms of outreach, looking at Kenya, are there plans, to expand and get more stories and more people to share their stories to the people out there, apart from Nairobi?
I will be absolutely honest with you, and again, I think this is a thing that, going by conventional wisdom, I should not be saying.
Okay. But
it's fine. Is there a plan currently? No. Why that is the case is this is something that is evolving very quickly. I have my great vision for what I want across, and I have my end goal. But how that end goal happens is what I need to figure out as I go along. Allow me to give an example, 2 examples actually, based on my own understanding of life. The point of football is to win.
Okay.
That's the whole objective. How you win, the ball goes into your net, and as far as possible, doesn't go into mine.
Yes.
The dynamics of the individual game, you can't really tell. You can't predict each and every step that's going to happen in the game. As long as the entire team knows that is our objective, that is our end goal. That's example 1. Example 2 is chess. I'm a huge fan of chess. The end objective is to capture the king.
Yes.
How that happens in the middle of the game, you're not entirely sure. All you know is certain pieces move in a particular way for them to achieve that objective. It's a similar approach that I use towards how I run Stories of Courage. My end objective is to have a generation and future generations of individuals that understand and know that each one of them is a story of courage. How that happens will depend on what access I get I get at every single point in time in life. So when I travel to Kisumu, I'm talking to people in Kisumu and telling them about this. And if someone is able to pick it up from there, by all means, pick it up. Because this is not my thing alone. I can't do it by myself.
Oh, yeah.
So if I'm talking to someone and think, I want to be part of this, here, have, this is the infrastructure, this is, go, run with it. If I'm going to Lodwar and there's someone who wants to pick it up, but this is what I have, run with it. As long as in each one of these different places, people understand that they have the capacity within them. So it's not my thing. Stories of Courage is not my thing. It's for anyone and everyone who buys into it and wants to be a part of it.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. And, running up from that, there's a question that is constantly asked about a lot of initiatives and non-for-profit organizations. Where is the money in that? Point blank and simple.
Okay.
And is money really, part of the whole end game?
As regards Stories of Courage, where is the money in it? I have no idea. Ask me that question. I have no idea. Am I making money from it now? No. If anything, I'm running a net loss. It's taking everything I have, not just in terms of money, but in terms of my effort, my time, my
energy,
everything.
All of
it. Is there money in it? I don't know. Will there be money in it? I have no idea. What I do know is that there are people whose lives so far have been changed, and there will be more people whose lives will be changed. I know that for one. I know secondly that there are people who have expressed interest in partnering with us, whether it's financially, whether it's in kind. At this point, it does not matter, as long as this objective keeps moving to help every one of us as an ordinary person understand that you have an extraordinary story. Will I make money from it at some point? I highly doubt it, to be honest. Because every bit of revenue that's coming is something that I'm replugging into it to make it have a greater impact than it's having now. I'm sure there are certain people who have strategies and initiatives, and they know once I've started this, I'm going to target this NGO or this corporate. And for me, it's if you see it and you buy into it, come, because that's how I know that your heart is genuinely in the right place.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Great, amazing. As we wind up, I would love for you to share with us, let's say, one story that was probably shared at the event, online or personally to you, that actually made you realize, you know what, this is worth it. It doesn't matter if it's for money or for the love of it. This is completely worth it.
This one is because it's two of them actually. This one is because it's the most recent one. At the June edition of Stories of Courage, we had a wonderful lady. She's a teacher, a writer, a blogger. She's called Gathoni Mora. She was sharing her story of how she has battled depression pretty much her entire life, since her adolescent years to date. She shared how she's had a couple of attempts on her own life. It was a very moving, very powerful story. And for her to have the courage to come and share that, I keep telling her time and time again, the fact that you've made it this far and the fact that you came and shared that story, you yourself are a story. But the result of her sharing that story was there was someone in the audience who has also been going through her own period of deep, dark depression. And the thing about our events is we make it a conversation. It's not about who's speaking.
Interactive.
It's interactive.
Yeah.
So she raises her hand and a mic goes to her, and she shares how she's been battling and she is battling depression, and she just hasn't had anyone to share that with. and it had gotten to a point for her where she was growing increasingly desperate. So what's the point of living and such? And for her, what she said was just to hear that someone can come up and talk about their own story on such a public platform, for her gave her hope and gave her reason to keep moving. And if for nothing else, all the debts that we accrued for the June edition of Stories of Courage, that one story was worth it.
Amazing.
That one story was worth it.
Oh, yeah. Wow. That is amazing. I mean, just the power of sharing a story can be able to save somebody from an otherwise very bad situation. Thank you very much, Marcus, for joining us.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you for sharing with us. I mean, what you're doing is truly amazing, and we celebrate you here at Shujaa. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a wonderful, wonderful session here at Shujaa today. I've been hosting Marcus Olang, the founder of Stories of Courage. I'm sure you've picked up a point or two and some inspiration to keep you going. Remember, all it takes is you sharing a story, and even just a kind word to your neighbor could actually save somebody's life and give them hope for a better tomorrow. I've been your host, Linda Kroeger. Keep it Shujaa on WTV Kenya.